Freddie Mac wants to help tenants by having landlords report rent payments. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming at a time when, guess what? A lot of tenants have bad credit. So Freddie Mac thought that they could come up to a solution to this problem. They could come up with a solution by saying, hey, if landlords reported these rent payments to us, or to the credit bureaus, then that would help improve tenant credit. But, personally, I don't think it's a good idea, and there's a multitude of reasons. And I'm going to tell you exactly why in just a moment. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think, okay? Do you think it's a good idea for landlords to report rental payments to credit bureaus? I don't, okay? And I'm going to explain exactly why during this video, okay? And maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't, but hey, just let me know what your opinion is. So, this article comes from Fool.com, and I believe that's the Motley Fool. And it says, Freddie Mac wants landlords to report rent payments. That could help renters build credit. And let's see what it says. Let's see if their argument will convince me. Key points. Landlords aren't required to report any rent payment details to credit bureaus. Freddie Mac is offering incentives for landlords who uphold that practice. Having good credit could spell the difference between getting approved for a mortgage, credit card, or personal loan and getting rejected, but sometimes it can be difficult to build credit. Some people prefer not to use credit cards but rather pay for their purchases in cash. Credit card usage can actually help build a credit history though. Similarly, those without loans or mortgages to pay off might suffer from a credit score perspective due to a lack of credit history. A big reason for this is that rent payments aren't always reported to the three major credit bureaus, even though years of timely payments could help many consumers build credit. Now Freddie Mac is trying to change that by incentivizing landlords to report rent payment activity. And I am not saying that this is a bad thing in all situations, right? But keep in mind who we're talking about when we're talking about most renters here, okay? Most renters are lower income people, okay? So it is common for lower income people to have bad credit. And do you think it's going to help or hurt their credit history when, if you're a landlord, you keep getting late payments for rent for these tenants, or if they don't pay at all? Okay, I think that by not reporting to a credit agency, it's actually helping a lot of tenants from their credit being even worse than it already is. Okay, so yeah, you start reporting all these late payments and all these, all this mess, in terms of them not paying their rent, etc., to these credit bureaus, and their credit will be destroyed in a lot of cases. What little credit they have. Okay, the other issue that I have is how hard or how easy is it for the landlord to actually report these credit to the credit bureaus, okay? Now, last time I checked, there's 3 main credit bureaus here in the U.S., okay? We're talking about Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Okay, I know all about it because I'm constantly looking at my personal credit report. But if a landlord has to report to all 3 of those for every single tenant that they have, every single month, hey, that just added a ton of extra work, especially for a landlord like me, a small landlord. That is too much to ask, okay? Now, if you're talking about huge corporations or corporate landlords, that's one thing. But we're talking about a small landlord. Hey, I don't have any staff working for me. It's all on me, okay? So putting, the credit history in there, that's just another burden of my time, and I just don't have time for it. So yeah, those are a couple of the reasons why I'm not in support of this. A potential boon to consumers. Mortgage borrowers who pay their home loans on time will generally see their credit scores rise as a result of that positive activity. But renters who pay their landlords on time often get nothing out of it from a credit score perspective. While it's possible for landlords to report rent payments to the credit bureaus, many opt not to in order to avoid the extra work since it's not required. Now Freddie Mac is trying to get more landlords to start reporting on rent payments. It's offering up closing cost credits for multifamily loans to entice landlords to go this route. I mean, yeah, they're offering up incentives, right? And if you're getting a loan, through Freddie Mac, etc. I mean, we're talking about larger multifamily properties, but that doesn't mean that it's 300 or 400 units. I mean, you could have a 5 unit property with a Freddie Mac mortgage on it, and you could still be a relatively small landlord and have to jump through these hoops for your 5 tenants. I mean, that is ridiculous, and that's not worth it a lot of the time. Okay, so yeah, I don't think it's a good idea in terms of when you're a small landlord, especially even for the big landlords. If we're talking about hundreds or thousands of tenants, I mean, it could be a pain in the butt. Now, a lot of landlords are already doing this, a lot of the big landlords, but you shouldn't expect small landlords to jump on board just as easily. Just as regular home buyers pay closing costs when they take out a mortgage, landlords also pay closing costs on their mortgages when they purchase multifamily properties. Freddie Mac has arranged it so that landlords who agree to report rent payments can receive a credit on their closing costs to make them less expensive. Those landlords will be matched up with Isuzu, a credit building fintech, which will deliver rental payment reports from landlords' property management software to the credit bureaus. That will ease the administrative burden for landlords. Yeah, and I had never heard of this Isuzu before, so that's pretty interesting. So they can take your property management, database and instantly use that to report to the credit bureaus. My only gripe, once again, now we're talking about going back to the tenant side, is that you could easily be destroying your tenant's credit. I have had so many tenants pay me late rent, just an unbelievable number. Okay, and they made the late payments, etc., but hey, that would still be a ding on their credit, the fact that they paid late. So would I actually be helping these tenants get loans in the future, or would I be actually hurting them? And in my opinion, I'd be hurting more tenants than I would be helping. One potential drawback of reporting rent payments. Reporting rent payments could help a lot of people build credit, but tenants should also be aware that if reporting on rent payments becomes more commonplace, late payments can cause major credit score damage, what I just said. In fact, the various factors that go into calculating a credit score, payment history, carries the most weight. It speaks on how timely consumers are with their bills and how responsible they borrow. Being late on even a single rent payment could tank an otherwise strong credit score. Some people struggle with their credit scores because they've racked up a lot of debt or have fallen behind on bills and have late payments on their record. But others struggle to boost their credit simply because they don't have enough of a payment history established. If more landlords start reporting rent payments to the credit bureaus, it could help a lot of people build or boost their credit. That could, in turn, open the door to more affordable borrowing opportunities for the people who need them. And if that's the case, right, then I'm all for it. But I've even had, some of my best tenants who've been maybe a day late before. Okay, so if you were to look at the property management software, it would say, okay, this person was a day late, and I waived the late fee on them. However, it would still automatically be reporting it to the credit bureau, and it would still ding their credit. So what good would that do them then? Otherwise excellent tenant who was a day late and now has a dinged credit. Okay, I mean, that wouldn't help them. It wouldn't help me. So yeah, I'm not in support of doing this, at least for small landlords. Now, what it might do in terms of late rent payments is it might encourage tenants to never miss a rent payment, or miss them much, much more rarely, so that they're always on time. And if that's the case, then that could be a good thing for landlords. But I'm not necessarily sure that that's exactly what's going to happen. So yeah, it's an interesting idea, but I'm not 100% in support of it. So I also have a second article here for you today, and it's coming out of Michigan, right? And I don't actually have access to the full article, but they put it behind a paywall, of course, right? And it says, audit, Michigan unemployment error, overpaid $3.9 billion. And it's from clickondetroit.com. And basically what the gist of the article is saying, and it covers another topic where basically there's a lot of people right now who are staying home and not working because they're getting all these benefits from the government, right? And, part of it is, they were getting free rent in terms of the eviction moratorium and the rental assistance. They were getting expanded unemployment benefits. They were getting stimulus checks, etc. These are things that I've been bringing up for a long time. Well, the state of Michigan screwed up, right? And they gave out $3.9 billion worth of unemployment benefits to people who didn't actually qualify for them. Okay, so they were encouraging people to not want to work, not go get a job, not pay their bills with all of this different government programs out there, right? And so, I'm an opponent, I'm 100% against socialism. I'm 100% against people relying upon the government to live their entire lives. And then you hear about this ridiculous government waste that went on in Michigan, and it's just frustrating. So I had to bring it up at the end of this video, even though it's not necessarily related to the main topic of the video, but it's just something to think about, okay? Just not only do we have problems with too much bureaucracy, but then we have a bunch of people who are 100% reliant on the government for everything, and it's basically making things a lot worse.